From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Bereshit, by the sweat of your brow. We know that one of the punishments after the sin of the eating from the free tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Adam and Eve were punished. What was Adam's punishment? B'zeyat apecha tochal lechem. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow. Sounds like a good idea. And then the Gan Eden, everything was wonderful. And now you have to eat by the sweat of your brow, especially bread. In order to make bread, you have to reap it, you have to plant it, you have to plow it, you have to winnow it, you have to thresh it, you have to grind it, you have to sift it, you have to knead it, you have to bake it. So there's all these things. So it's a pain in the neck to make bread. So with the sweat of your brow will eat bread. According to Midrash, one day bread will grow on trees again, and everything will be wonderful. So that is a view. However, Kli Yakar says, wait a second, I don't get it. It says in Psalm 128, Kuf Chavchat, Yagia kapecha ki tochal, ashrecha v'tov lach. If you eat from the work of your hands, you'll be happy and things will be good for you. And we all know that if you get a handout from someone else, there's a certain lack of satisfaction. When you do something yourself, you feel good about it. You make a nice kugel, a nice piece of chicken, you feel good. Oh, I made such a nice dinner. You feel good about it. But if you don't work for what you have, you don't have that satisfaction. So what do you mean by the sweat of your brow? That's they used to have a commercial, not in favor of any excessive drinking, but they used to have a commercial, Miller time. People work a hard day, and then afterwards they come and they celebrate together, and they enjoy it together. That's the beauty of work, after all. Gedolah Amlacha. We have a video where we talked about it. There are many sources that talk about the beauty of work, the importance of work. Gedolah Amlacha. Even in Gan Eden, they say, even in Gan Eden they had work. Why were we placed in the Garden of Eden? To work it. You're supposed to work. And when you work, sometimes you sweat. Rav Meidan pointed out that not only does it say that in the Garden of Eden, our whole purpose is to work, but also, before we got to the garden, Adam Ayin Lavodat Adamah, there was no person to work the land. When we came there, apparently we did work the land. So you're supposed to work the land. As Rabbi Bernal points out, it's wonderful. If you can work hard and make a delicious bread, that's the greatest pleasure. What do people do? They work, they're retired, they sit in the garden, they plant tomatoes, and they get their hands dirty, and they sweat in the hot day, and then they get the tomato, and they're so happy, and they eat it, and they slice it, and they give it to their friends, and they're thrilled. It's wonderful. It's a great pleasure to work hard in order to produce something that you enjoy, all right? To work as a farmer, and then you have a juicy steak or something. It's what people enjoy. It's great. So what are we talking about? What do you mean the curse that you by the sweat of your brow? The Chizkuni, based on wanted to say that no, it's only for farmers. In other words, if you're a farmer, so then you have the curse that forevermore you always have to sweat in order to make a living. But for other people, they don't have to worry about that. That curse is limited to farmers. I'm not sure we can fully agree. After all, as the Rabbi Bernal says, it's nice to work in a farm, and you have a beautiful farm, beautiful crops. You make some money. You're happy. You can barter it for something else. It's wonderful. So why is this a curse altogether? Furthermore, Rav Meidan points out that the Gemara says at the end of the Brachos, other places, that Talmidei Chachamim ein lahem menucha ba'olam hazeh and not olam haba. Shneimar yelchu michayil l'chayil elokim etzion. That if you're a real scholar, if you're really a pious person, you don't have rest in this world or in the next world, because they're going to go from strength to strength, and they'll see God in Zion. They're going to get somewhere with their travels, with their development. They're going to go to Zion. They'll go to the highest place. It's good to keep growing, even in the next world, even the idyllic world. We're still growing in the Gan Eden. There's work to be done. Now, there, Barbanel is willing to say that, well, in Gan Eden, they didn't really work. They just watered the plants. You have to do something. So you have to water the plants. That's the work that was missing before man was born. After that, man watered the plants, but you didn't have to work hard. You would water it, everything would be great. But I'd like to suggest the following distinction. We know on the one hand that Gedolah Hamlacha, over and again, Talmudic sages tell us that work is wonderful. It's a great value, the value of working hard, and to enjoy your work. We said, Psalm 128, it's the greatest pleasure to work and achieve something. However, there's work that demeans and there's work that dignifies. Most work dignifies. Even the most supposedly demeaning work, it also dignifies, because when you go home, you have a paycheck. Maybe you work in cleaning toilets all day. Maybe you work in garbage collection, and it's dirty, or the plumbing, and there's a lot of dirt involved. When you go home, you get that paycheck. You live in a nice house. There's dignity in work and the results of work. But there is some work that demeans. There's sometimes the pecha, they describe, the sweat coming out of your nose. There can be work that demeans. The Gemara itself says that, we need all types of work, but oilo, woe unto someone who actually has to do demeaning work. Hopefully you can find umnus nekiya v'kal, work that's easy and it's clean. But we also need people to work when there's work that's more demeaning and more dirty. But some work, for instance, if the boss is demeaning to you, then it can be demeaning. So there could be circumstances in which work could be demeaning, and that's the curse of Adam. But generally speaking, work does not demean. Work edifies. On the contrary, that there's dignity in work. Take a person who's retired, or even someone who never found themselves, and even they have a lot of money, but they don't work. There's a certain demeaning character. There's a certain lack of dignity in not working. Even when someone retires, sometimes they find themselves with a certain lack of dignity and purpose. There are other work aside from the official work. The person can have a lot of dignity in retirement as well. But it's just an example of the idea that part of our dignity comes from work. And that's okay. That's a good thing. So we have to look more deeply at this question of zeyad apecha toch halechem, the idea that somehow sweat of the brow, we eat bread, that somehow this is a curse. Is it really a curse? What is it? When would it be a curse? And what does it actually mean? But in any event, let's hope that the work that we do should not be demeaning. It should be edifying. And let's realize that whatever work we do, if it brings home a paycheck, if it helps us live with dignity, then indeed it's ashrecha v'tov lach. You're happy and we'll be glad with it. And we hope we should be spared from work that somehow is demeaning. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfard Beth Elameth Congregation for our discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.